Couple of things that I found when I was researching the term job killer was a lot of stuff coming up about Obama and Obamacare. And I found this article in the Washington Post that says, "Is Obamacare a job killer?" Um, and as I'm reading the rest of this article, one of the first things that comes up is, here we go again. Once again, another Republican politician has labeled the Affordable Care Act as a job killer. I thought this was really interesting because it really points out the fact that a lot of what we as a country do is blame another party. We're very blame savvy. So what is being done here is that the Republicans are using the term job killer against Democrats in order to gain more popularity with the working class and in order to bring more people to their side of the party. If you look down, though, it says here that Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius has reported that there's absolutely no evidence that there are any job losses related to the Affordable Care Act. So this is something that really puts the pin in it, that it is kind of a fallacy, and it's one of those things that's used as a tactic to make the other party just look like they're failing. So another thing I kind of realized while I was reading some of these articles and researching the term job killer is that so many individuals, American individuals, will complain about not having a job or complain about being on unemployment or what have you, but yet they are the ones that are promoting outsourcing, because we have very little materials that are made in America nowadays, and so much of it is being outsourced and sold for cheap in stores like Walmart or even Target or 99-cent store or whatever. So I thought that was pretty interesting also. But back to this article, as it says here, Republicans tend to cite anecdotal evidence, whereas the administration relies on broad overviews of the data. So generally, anecdotal accounts are less trustworthy than broader data sets, but the broader data can also obscure real-world impacts. This is just another note that, the party can use terms like job killer in order to get to working-class individuals and make them feel like what their country is doing is not beneficial for them. So it's losing their jobs. So what Obama has done for them is cutting their jobs. I'm not saying that the government isn't doesn't hold huge responsibility for the amount of jobs that we have created, but I think that it's worth it for the American population to educate themselves on why and what sources we've come to for this lack of employment. And somewhere in here, I'm trying to find where it says, but I read that actually the part-time positions in employment have decreased while full-time positions have increased. So that kind of is another point that can go against this whole term job killer. The negative hit word, really. Another article I found was this one from Poynter, which is a collection and research leader in journalism. And the study was done between the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, and it says that the Wall Street Journal has used job killer almost 3 times as often as the New York Times. So as we all know, Wall Street Journal is sort of a business-based newspaper, and is used mostly for white-collar Republican businessmen. So for them to be, and it's one of those things that many, I'm trying to refrain from using the word ignorant, but less educated Americans might want to look at the Wall Street Journal and put it higher up on a pedestal because it's something that they use for large corporations, bigger businesses, something that only, Ivy League alumni can really get into. So we really put that up on a pedestal. But what's really interesting is that they've been using these terms like job killer in order to, create these, as it says here, create allegations which are reported that suggest that the term, is used loosely. Well, the term is used loosely, and it creates the claims that just aren't valid. And when you look at the research, it's not adding up. So this term really is killing a lot of what we think about America. So as it says here, the authors of this have written a history of the term from 1922 until the Republican framing strategy in 1993. Since then, the academics write it's been a smooth sailing for the term, which they find has little correlation with actual unemployment. They studied its use in four news organizations: New York Times, Washington Post, and Wall Street Journal, and the Associated Press since 1984. So this is the graph here for how much it's been used. So you can see Wall Street Journal is just way up there. Washington Post and New York Times are the lowest. And then the Associated Press is also very high. And that, again, you can see as where maybe a Republican Party has been using that term in order to negatively affect the Democratic Party. And as it says here, which connects to the previous article, is that the interesting linguistic tactics like Democratic Party and Obamacare and job killer are typically clumped together. So you can find that typically together. Anyway, that's what I found. I thought that it was a really interesting topic. I thought that job killer is definitely a tactic, and I think that Americans need to know that our government is essentially using marketing tools to get us to believe whatever we want. So we really need to hone in on that and start realizing that what they're saying may not be completely valid, and we need to look at so many different sources and different research that's been done on this kind of stuff, and really look at the statistics and the nitty-gritties of it. And I know so many Americans don't have the time for that kind of stuff, but it's really in our best interest to make the time. So thanks.